Hello everyone, welcome back to the Drivers Room. We're in the Endurance Championship today. This is Season 2 of 2020, Round 5 Tier 1, and we're at the Autodrome Lago Maggiore GP2 circuit in the Group 3 category. Our grid walk today, on pole we have VQS Dawson, starting on the racing softs. He's third in the championship at the moment on 106 points. Has missed 2 rounds already this season, rounds 1 and 4, but did win rounds 2 and 3, which he did appear in. But can't afford to miss any more rounds for the rest of the season. All points scored from here on out will count to his total. And in second place we have Plucks the Duck, starting on the racing softs. Second in the championship at the moment on 110 points. Missed the last round, so finds himself 24 points off the top of the table at the moment. Yet to beat Dawson on track this season, so let's see how he gets on from second place. Did win the opening rounds in the Group 3 category. And in third place today we have Hit the Mac, starting on the Super Softs. He's 6th in the table at the moment on 74 points. His best result of the season so far, coming in the last round, picking up a solid third place. Let's see if that kicks on this season from this point onwards, going into the final 4 rounds. And in fourth place we have Gadget. He's our championship leader at the moment, starting on the Racing Super Softs. Championship leader at the moment on 134 points. Impressive win last round for Gadget, completing the clean sweep of a pole, fastest lap and a race win. Sees him elevated to the top of the table going into the halfway point of the season. Let's see how he gets on, starting from 4th today. And in 5th place we have Senna, starting on the Racing Softs. Joint 7th in the table at the moment on 72 points. Senna's season slowly gathering pace, finishing just outside the top 5 last round to make it 2 6th place finishes in the last 2 rounds. Imagine he'd be wanting to push for podiums from this point onwards. And in 6th place today we have Wilco, starting on the Racing Softs. 15th in the table at the moment on 38 points, sitting 4 points from safety at the moment, after a season best finish of 7th place last round. Needs to push on from here, pretty good quality today. We see how he gets on, just qualifying just outside the top 5. And in 7th place we have myself, DJ Rice, starting on the Racing Super Softs. 13th at the table at the moment on 42 points, picked up a DNF last round after losing what little composure I do have. Sees me sitting just above the relegation zone, the man 4 points ahead of Wilco, I just mentioned. Yeah, need to get some good results from this point onwards. In 8th place today we have Daz, starting on the Racing Softs. 12th in the table at the moment on 46 points. 9th place finish for Daz last round to match his best points haul so far this season, to match his round 1. Only 4 points ahead of myself at the moment in the table, but things getting very tight across the board in Tier 1. And in 9th place we have Cafe Del Mar, starting on the Racing Super Softs. Joint 7th at the moment with Senna, I think, 72 points. Missed the last round, did pick up a podium in round 2, which is still his best result of the season so far. He's got a lot to do, starting from 9th place today though. And in 10th place we have Canny, starting on the Racing Softs. 11th in the table at the moment with 48 points, just inside the top 10 last round for Canny. Season 2 points ahead of Daz, and 8 points off of Ben ahead of him in the table going into the halfway point of the season. In 11th place we have Kamaru, starting on the Racing Softs. 4th in the table at the moment on 90 points. A slight dip in form for Kim after a solid opening round. Podium, only managing 8th place last round, but his dislike for Brands Hatch is pretty common knowledge. Let's see if he can improve today. I've got a lot to do from 11th. And in 12th today we have Muller, starting on the Racing Softs. 9th in the table at the moment on 70 points. His best result of the season so far, coming in the last round, picking up 4th place. See what he can do today, starting from the back in the Aston Martin. And in 13th place we have Ben, starting on the Racing Softs. 10th place in the table at the moment with 56 points. His best result in the season so far, coming in the last round, also picking up 5th place. His results have steadily improved as the season's gone on so far, but finds himself right at the back of the grid today. Anyway, that is our grid walk for today. Let's get underway. So here we are then, round 5, tier 1. The Drivers' Room Endurance Championship about to get underway at Mazur GP Circuit 2. So we watch our pole sitter Dawson building up the revs now. Let's light us out, we're underway. And looks like Dawson might have bogged down a little bit there. That's a lightning start from Mack in the Mercedes there. He's up into first place, I think. But Plux does have the inside of T1. And yeah, does enough to take the lead of this race on the exit of T1. So you've got Plux up into first now, Mack in second, Dawson in third, having bogged down a little bit on the grid there. Senna making up a place to fourth. Excuse me, and Wilco in the fifth. You've got Gadget bogging down on the grid a little bit and losing a couple of places as well in a slow start in Peugeot. You've got Plux in the lead of this race on the opening lap, closely followed by Mack as we come through this fast downhill section into this slight hairpin. As Mack going a little bit defensive there, as Dawson just hangs it round the outside. They get a really good exit, good traction on the exit of the corner there. And it looks like he's at a car length in front already before this fast S section. So Dawson reclaiming second place excuse me, on the opening lap there. Mack back down to third. Senna in fourth, we've got Wilco in fifth. Gadget in sixth. Cafe Del Mar 7th. Daz in 8th. Kamaru up to 9th. Got Canny in 10th. Ben in 11th. Myself down to 12th, having started 7th on the grid. And Muller in 13th. So we just rejoin the action a little bit further up. And oh, that's Mack running a little, Senna running a little bit wide there, sorry, as Wilco makes up track position, moves himself up into fourth place there. A little mistake from Senna, it's going to put him under pressure from Gadget as well. And we just rejoin the lead of this race, and Dawson putting Plux under pressure already. Opening lap not even complete, and Dawson looking to take first place back as soon as possible. He's got the inside, and he just about gets past Plux before the turning point at that last corner. Doesn't make any contact, gets himself back onto first, Plux in the second, under pressure from Mack as well, as Mack followed Dawson's line through the final two corners there, as Plux was going a little bit defensive. But yeah, Dawson doing enough, gets himself back up into first place on the opening lap, having dropped down to third. Plux in second now, Mack in third, Wilco doing a good job in fourth place. That's Senna right behind in fifth, as his Gadget is in sixth. Cafe Del Mar not that far behind, still in the tow of Gadget up ahead by the looks of it. So see if Wilco can hold on to this now, as Senna taking a little bit of a look into the hairpin. Oh, might have been a bit of contact there as Wilco runs a little bit wide. And it looks like, yeah, Senna's just pulling over there to yield that position, as felt there's a little bit too much contact with Wilco through that corner. So yeah, fair play there. Senna dropping right back through the grid now though, and that does release Gadget in fourth place. See if he can start getting some good lap times in, some clean air, closing the gap on Hit the Mack up ahead. Let's see if he can extend the gap to Cafe Del Mar behind, who finds himself under a lot of pressure from Daz at the moment. Wilco rejoining the race in 7th after that little incident. Oh, as he runs wide there, he's going to lose a bit of time there. He's going to come under a lot of pressure from Kamaru in the Dodge Viper. He's right in the slipstream. And that looks like Daz making a move up ahead as well on Cafe Del Mar up to 5th place. You see Wilco just running wide there in the background. So you've got Daz up to 5th, Cafe Del Mar 6th, Kamaru up to 7th place now. Senna back up to 8th. And yeah, Wilco rejoining the race in 12th, as you see him running wide in the background, just as Daz made that overtake. So race of recovery again for Wilco, now finds himself in 12th. It's closed the back of the grid up quite a bit now. So rejoin our leader Dawson. Plux just about staying in touching distance at the moment. So just around about half a second slower than Dawson up ahead on that last lap. And then a similar gap back to Mack in 3rd place, 1:59 flat last lap for Gadget. So Dad's ahead of this group of 4 cars. We got 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. Daz ahead in 5th, Cafe in 6th, Camaro up into 7th now, after incidents from drivers ahead. And Senna in 8th, see what Senna can do. So he finds himself behind 3 cars at this stage of the race. He takes a look, and Daz has lost a couple of places. He was ahead of this group. I know he's had a poor exit out of that left-hander, but I think he's just lost 3 places in the space of 1 corner. So yeah, poor exit out there, and all 3 cars getting passed on the straight by the looks of it. So Cafe Del Mar up into 5th now, Camaro 6th, Senna up into 7th. Daz down to 8th, unfortunately. Got Ben in 9th, myself in 10th, close behind. Kenny in 11th, Wilco 12th, Muller in 13th. And this is Camaro and Cafe Del Mar side by side. Camaro looks like he's got the inside, should be a pretty textbook move here. As he just meets the apex, comes back across the track to take the proper line and establishes 5th position. Camaro up into 5th place now. Really good opening couple of laps from Camaro. Did start quite far back on the grid. 11th place he started. Up to 5th at the end of lap 3. Cafe Del Mar down to 6th, Senna in 7th still, Daz in 8th, Ben in 9th, myself 10th, Wilco 11th, Muller 12th and Kenny in 13th. So Muller's made up a place at the back there as well. Dawson is just extending that gap out ahead at the moment. 58 flat from Plux on the last lap. Hit the Mac a little bit quicker than Plux. And the top 3 a little bit quicker than Gadget in 4th place at this stage of the race. See if Camaro can break away from this fighting pack as well as group of 4 still battling for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. This might well be helping Ben close the gap up behind, as 9th, 10th and 11th all running close together as well. So Daz having a bit of an incident there through the S's. He runs a little bit wide there. This is going to give Ben an opportunity. Daz falling right back through the grid there. He's got rear damage as well. So the race absolutely falling apart there. Was running in 5th, finds himself down in 11th, down to 12th now. As Muller makes up a place as well, up until 11th. So yeah, Daz falling right through the grid. He's promoted Ben up to 8th place now. So just coming up to the 8-minute mark. And Wilco up to 9th. Yeah, I think I was behind Ben a minute ago, so that's Wilco up into 9th place now. Continuing his recovery race. And Daz pitting from the back to get that damage sorted. Got Ben and Wilco side by side. This could be slowing the pair of them down. Just jump on board with myself now as you come to this downhill braking section, to this left-hand hairpin. Lovely corner if you hook it up right. Can really nail the throttle on the way out. As you see, Wilco just picking up the dirt on the way out, not able to get the power down as well as he'd like. Dropping back to 11th there. Picking up the slipstream of Ben up ahead. But yeah, can't get myself ahead before this section where you do not want to be going side by side. I've stopped myself back into 9th place for the moment. That's Ben running a little bit wide there. Struggling for traction a little bit. Moving myself up into 8th. So Ben down to 9th now. Wilco back down to 10th. And it looks like Muller's closing the gap up behind as this is all kicking off in front. Ben doing just enough to hold off Wilco at the moment. Needs to pick up the slipstream for myself ahead to defend this corner coming up, as he's a little bit wide. So doing just enough to hold on to 9th at the moment. Although Wilco having a look up the inside of the final corner, just overshoots it a little bit. Although it does have the inside, gets really tight there. And Muller just taking some avoiding action as well, as he looks to make another place up after a couple of mistakes there from Wilco. Helping Kenny close up the gap as well. He's got Daz just crossing the line there in 13th, having made a pit stop a lap earlier. Dawson still out in front of this race. 1 minute 58.7, 1 minute 58.5 from Plucks behind. Similar lap time. Still got him in clear view as well. So Dawson certainly not running away with the race at the moment. Plucks doing a good job in the Ford GT to stay in contention. Hit the Mac in 3rd, Gadget in 4th, both in clean air. And then you've got this fight behind 5th, 6th and 7th. And myself in 8th now, looking to close the gap up to these guys in front. So Kamara doing a good job to fight off a fast approach in centre. So that battle's been going on for about 4 laps now, 3 or 4 laps. Myself in 8th, clean air, hoping to close that gap up. Ben under a bit of pressure from Muller's, steadily moving up the grid. Did start from 12th today, Muller. Wilco in 11th, just tyre wear kicking in a bit for these cars now. So Dawson's come around the final corner. It's on the 12-minute mark. He dives into the pits, as does Plucks. So yeah, 12-minute mark, just looking to do a 4-stopper. Smack in the pits also. Gadget also diving into the pits, and that looks like Senna's got himself ahead of this little battle here. As they all 3 of them, like a human centipede, diving into the pits there. All nose to tail. Ben, one of the only drivers to go through for another lap these early stages of the race, as does Canny behind, who's got some front end damage to contend with as well there. So Dawson and Plucks and Mac, 1st, 2nd and 3rd, all coming back out onto the track in those positions. Myself rejoining in 9th, so Ben up into 5th place now, but he's got this train of drivers behind who all joined the pits together, and all on fresh rubber now, as Senna takes a look at Ben, immediately gets the move done. Ben takes a little bit of a fight back, can't really do nothing on those tyres. See if Kamaru can make his way through before this left-hander. I think he does, so it's Senna and Kamaru through. Next man is Cafe Del Mar. Can he get ahead before the S section? As could potentially lose a lot of time through these faster sections. Went behind the car on old tyres. It's Ben running a little bit wide there, gives Cafe a little bit of a look, but he can't really do much through here. He's on the outside now, does the cut back, and yeah, gets the job done pretty smoothly there. Slots in front of Ben, up into 7th place. Ben in 8th, myself in 9th now. The next man on the fresh rubbers, looking to get a move done on Ben, and take a look immediately into that left-hander. A little bit of contact there as the camera panned away, thankfully, but nothing too malicious, no damage. Myself up to 8th now, Ben on 9th, Ben in 9th. See if he pits on this lap. Just getting close to the 15-minute mark, see if he wants to try and stretch it out to a 3-stopper today. But no, that is Ben diving into the pits. So Dad's coming through, moving up to 9th now after that early pit stop. Muller in 10th on fresh rubber, Wilco in 11th. Canny also pitting from the back there. Has some damage to get fixed on that car, so it might be a long pit stop for Canny. So anyway, back with the lead of the race now. Dawson 156.1 156.7's just extending that lead steadily at this stage of the race. Very similar fuel levels, you look on the graphic there. Pretty much identical fuel levels. Mac in a comfortable third place now. I don't think Gadget's really got the pace today to trouble these top three. You see Mac's immediately into the 156s. Steady 158s from Gadget this stage of the race. Senna up to 5th now, doing enough to stay ahead of Kamaru. Cafe Del Mar's dropped off the back of this group, so I don't know if he's had an incident somewhere. I know he's getting through past Ben earlier, so it's opened that gap up between Kamaru and Cafe Del Mar, and that's myself putting Cafe under a lot of pressure now as well. Dad's running 9th, still doing enough to stay ahead of Muller and Wilco, but he will have the older tyres as he gets a little bit congested now, as Wilco got the inside of Muller for this left-hander coming up. Muller just sweeps across, goes defensive, takes the inside line. I think he's got the move done on Daz there. Daz round the outside, he's going to have the inside of his right-hander, just yields a little bit there I think, just to give Muller space to come through, but allows Wilco through on the same line as well. Dad's just dropping a couple of places there. You do just staying in the slipstream with these guys now before his next stop. Ben in 12th on the back of these guys now, and Canny in 13th, a few seconds back. As I say, just had to get some damage fixed on that last pit stop. It's cost him a bit of time. So just rejoining the race, the end of lap 9 now. Keeping Cafe Del Mar under pressure. Let's see if that pressure pays off. It's 159.3 last lap for Cafe Del Mar as he runs a little bit wide out of turn 1 there. That's just enough to give me an invite. Moved myself up into 7th place now. It's a little bit quicker this stage of the race on the softer compound. Myself up into 7th. Cafe down to 8th. Wilco in 9th now. He's got himself ahead of Muller in 10th. Ben 11th, Daz in 12th. Canny still a couple of seconds behind the pack at the back there. So Dawson in the lead of this race pretty comfortably at the moment. 156.5 going purple a couple of laps ago there from Dawson. Just trying to extend that lead as much as he can, I think. So only a couple of tenths slower on the last lap for Plux, as again still keeping him pretty honest at this stage of the race. He's not, again like I say, Dawson not completely running away with this one. Hit the Mac not that far behind either. Any mistakes from the guys up ahead, and there's a few guys that will capitalise. Gadget in 4th now, picking up the pace now as he hits a 157.7 on the last lap. Senna in 5th, still closely followed by Kamaru in 6th place, and yeah, Senna doing enough to stay ahead at this stage of the race. I've got myself in clean air in 7th now, having overtaken Cafe Del Mar a moment ago, just open that gap up a bit. Cafe Del Mar in 8th, 59.3. We'll keep an eye on his lap time, but it looks like Wilco's starting to close the gap up to Cafe as well. Dragging Muller along with him. Just keep an eye on his lap times now. It's just over 2 minutes, or 2:03. Poor lap there for Cafe Del Mar. And 159.6, losing 3.5 to 4 seconds to Wilco behind in that last lap. Tyres seem okay, so probably a couple of mistakes somewhere along the lap. This little train of cars starting to close up behind as well. So battles carry on throughout the field. Well, a bit of field spread now with the top 4. You see on the graphic there, all along the straight. Dawson first, Plux second, Mac third, Gadget in 4th. These two guys still the closest on track, as they have been for most of the race. Maintained really good speed while fighting as well. section at the end of lap 12. He's got Dawson still in the lead, just coming up to the 24-minute mark now, so we'll see if he dives into the pit, which he does. Still on course for this 4-stopper. Pluck's getting a little bit leery through the last corner there, entering the pits also. Pretty much identical fuel levels for the top two. Mac diving into the pits as well. A little bit less fuel for Mac. As Gadget just comes through the final corner now, also choosing to pit. So the top four are all on the same strategies at the moment. Senna coming through. Senna and Kamaru both pitting. So it looks like this is the optimal strategy today. The 4-stopper. Pretty much everyone diving into the pits. We'll take a look back again as Ben was a little bit out of sync, but Ben's chosen to pit along with everyone else this set of pit stops. So he aligns himself with everyone else's strategy, and looks like Senna's taken on, Kamaru's taken on a bit of fuel on that last stop as Senna's opened the gap up. So Kamaru in 6th place. And you've got Wilco up into 7th place now, so he did pit in 9th, I think. So he's made up a couple of places in the pit stop there. You've got myself just over half a tank of fuel, and I think Wilco opted not to fuel at that series of pit stops. I think that's I think most people will be on for the same amount of pits today, but fuel levels will dictate different strategies as the race goes on by the looks of it. So you've got Wilco up into 7th place now, myself down to 8th, Ben in 9th. Cafe and 10th, side by side with Canny there, as Canny's on the older tyres, a little bit out of sync with these guys, as I think Daz has also pitted for Fresh Racing mediums. Let's see what sort of pace he can carry on those, but yeah, Daz also looks like he's just aligned himself with everyone else's strategy. You've got Miller at the back now, looks like he's had an incident somewhere, and that looks like a complete malfunction, followed by probably a rage quit. So I think we've lost Miller from the back now. But Dawson in 1st place, still doing more than enough to stay ahead of Plucks at the moment. Plucks in 2nd, Mac in 3rd, Gadget in 4th. Top 4 positions haven't changed for a long time now, as Senna in 5th as well, looking to cement that 5th position. See how the strategies play out with Kamaru and Senna now. Same as Wilco and myself. So I'll close the gap a little bit to Wilco on that last lap. 157 I think on the out lap. 157, no, he had a quicker out lap there, so don't know how that worked out. Right on his bumper at the moment in 8th place. And just runs a little bit deep there, it's going to give me an opportunity. Slot myself into 7th place there, so a little, rare mistake from Wilco there, just runs a little bit wide, gives up the place, and see what Ben can do in 9th place now as well, if he can close the gap ahead. Cafe in 10th, Daz in 11th, and so see what kind of pace Daz can carry on those medium tyres. Be very, very surprised if he can stay with Cafe Del Mar at the early stages of this stint. Cafe Del Mar being on the super softs, but he's definitely in his toe at the moment. So Canny in 12th. Having just got myself ahead of Wilco, seem to have opened that gap a little bit, and then have a messy couple of corners, and that looks like Wilco right on my tail again. So a little bit of a messy last corner there. Wilco's going to be right in this slipstream coming down the main straight. He just let off the throttle there just to get a better line through T1. He's had a better line than myself up ahead, but just can't go anywhere at the moment. And that's myself running really wide there out onto the AstroTurf. And they're losing all traction and track positions. Got Wilco back up into 7th place now. Just returning the favour of putting the pressure on. Myself down to 8th. Flat, hit the max, setting a personal best on the last lap there, as did Gadget in 4th place, but still 0.6 of a second slower than hit the max, so certainly best of the rest at the moment. 57.5 from Senna, so similar times to Gadget up ahead now. So just rejoining the action with Senna at the end of lap 17 now. So choosing not to fuel on the last round of pit stops, and choosing to dive into the pits on the 34-minute mark. So really wanting to stretch this out to 36 minutes for optimal 4-stopper. And this will move Kamaru back up to 5th place for now, as Senna does have to take on quite a bit of fuel. Next man down the road is Wilco. I think he'll be pretty safe from Wilco though, as he rejoins the race in 6th place. Just over a quarter of a tank of fuel taken on. As Wilco comes through in 7th. Looks like he's extended the gap to myself a little bit in 8th. Both going again, looking to hit that 36-minute mark. Ben in 9th, Daz in 10th, Cafe Del Mar in 11th. Canny just crossing the line there in 12th, 159.2, so settling into the 159s now for Canny. So I'd imagine Dawson will come in at the end of this lap and start another chain reaction of pit stops with everyone behind. And Senna, having rejoined in 6th, has really closed that gap up to Kamaru already. So obviously Kamaru's coming to the end of his stint on the old worn softs. You see Dawson on the graphic there pitting from the lead. Again, Plux and Dawson pretty identical fuel levels this stage of the race, but you've got Senna putting Kamaru under a lot of pressure at the moment. I think Kamaru just gave him an indicate there just to get by. There's no point fighting at the end of his stint on the warm rubber. Senna makes his way up to 5th, and looking at the graphic there, Plux has jumped Dawson in the pits. So Plux was just over a quarter of a tank there. So yeah, Dawson taking on 3/4 of a tank in total, and yeah, it's just cost him a chunk of time in the pits. And Plux has track position. He's up into 1st place now. That's an interesting turn of events. Obviously Plux is going to have to fuel a little bit more on the next stint, but he is going to be lighter, and in a position here just to take the race to Dawson a little bit. We'll see if Dawson can close that gap though. But Mac not that far behind in 3rd. Does have to pit, so Mac's gone an extra lap by the looks of it. Gadget's made his pit stop, rejoins in a comfortable 4th position. Sent up to 5th now. And we'll see if he has to pit again. He's on a quarter of a tank. Did pit a lap earlier than everyone else as well, so yeah, it could be interesting. But Kamaru under pressure from myself, so Kamaru with half a tank, myself with a quarter of a tank. Also got to be pretty careful with the fuel level for this next stint. But yeah, right on the gearbox of Kamaru, so done well enough there to move myself up the field a little bit. As you got Daz in 8th place now on the slightly worn racing mediums. So yeah, 158s and 201 last lap, but steady 158s and 59s for Daz on the racing mediums. Pretty good pace there. And Wilco in 9th now, out on the fresh super softs, and Cafe in 10th, fresh softs for Caf. Ben in 11th, racing softs for Ben as well. As you've got Mac pitting from 3rd place, having done that extra lap. I don't think Gadget will be close enough, as did have a sizable gap going into the pit. Looks like Dawson's closed the gap. Yeah, it's just over half a second quicker on that last lap, so he has closed the gap to Plucks up ahead. And just on the graphic there, looks like I've got myself ahead of Kamaru somewhere on track. I've got myself up into 6th place now, Kamaru down to 7th. Dad's still in 8th. Just going back to the lead of this race now. And Dawson's just slowly closing the gap. Closing the gap up and Plucks up ahead as he goes purple on that sector as well, so really putting the pressure on now. I imagine Plucks is pulling his best out as well. Plucks doing a good job out in the lead at the moment and weathering this pressure. It's got Dawson going purple behind him at the moment. Just a little bit further back you got Kim putting myself immediately back under pressure, having lost that place earlier on. I think it was from a small mistake, and that's me running wide there. Kim saying thank you very much, goes up the inside and should have the inside of this left-hander coming up. That Dodge Viper should have enough guts to beat the little VW down the straight. And Kamaru slots himself back into 6th place there, myself back down to 7th. Quick run through the grid now. Obviously Plucks in 1st place, Dawson in 2nd for the time being. Plucks doing a good job there, maintaining that gap. Both in the 1 minute 56s, incredible pace from the leaders. 1:56.6 from Mac behind though on the last lap, so definitely got some pace. It's not quite enough to trouble the top two. It's Mac in 3rd. Took on a bit more fuel in that last pit stop, so you see Gadget's managed to close that gap up on him a little bit. See how that pans out during the next stint. Senna in 5th place. Very comfortable 5th place now, as Kamaru's getting in a bit of a battle with myself behind for the 6th and 7th. Wilco starting to close that gap up in 8th now out of nowhere, just starting to creep up behind myself and Kamaru. 1:57.6, 2 really good laps from Wilco there on the Delta. PB on the last lap. Cafe in 9th, Ben in 10th, Daz in 11th, and Kenny in 12th. Just rejoin the action, a couple of minutes forward on lap 23. Wilco's really closed the gap up to myself in 7th now, as we come up to this left hand sweeping corner. Looks like I've run a little bit wide there. See my car squirming a little bit trying to get the power down, and Wilco slots himself into 7th place. Next man down the road is Kamaru. See if he can get on the tail end of him, as myself's critical on fuel. It's coming up to the 46-minute mark now, so Wilco running wide up ahead. So, just making a place up. Just runs wide through the S's and drops back to 8th place. Cafe Del Mar's really got to remap that flashlight headlight button. Cafe in 9th, under pressure from Daz in 10th, Ben 11th, Canny in 12th. So just come up to the 46-minute mark, and this stint Plux has done a really good job just to stay ahead of Dawson. See, Dawson will jump him again at the next round of pit stops, I'd imagine. You see Plux just going critical down on fuel. Dawson with over half a tank, just over half a tank. So yeah, should gain at least 3 or 4 seconds on Plux during the next pit stops. We'll see what Plux can do. So Max still in 3rd, 58.2, 59.5 from Gadget on the last lap, so he's had a bit of a messy one. So all these guys coming up to at the end of the stint. So Senna's a little bit out of sync. He's got loads of room, no one near him front or back, but and setting the personal best in the last lap there as well, 57.1. Yeah, just a little bit out of sync with the strategies at the moment. Kamaru in a very comfortable 6th position, myself in 7th. As Wilco pitted. Right, a few of these guys at the back have pitted. Cafe rejoins in 10th, Wilco rejoins in 11th. Doesn't be their last pit stops of the race now. And yeah, we've got Plux in the pits on 6% fuel, Dawson on 50%. It'll be straight out and comfortably back into the lead of this race. Plux rejoining on 34% fuel. Yeah, so just a few seconds down. So he's got a lighter car, but out and out pace today. Unless Dawson makes a mistake up ahead. Don't think there's a lot Plux can do. He's extracting all he can out of that full GT today. Just not been enough to match the relentless pace of Dawson up ahead. Yeah, top 4 all pitting now for their final pit stops of the race. Matt rejoining in 3rd, Gadget rejoining in 4th. Senna going critical now, so he does have to pit soon. Kamaru jumping into the pits, myself jumping into the pits. Kamaru with a little bit more fuel at this stage of the race. Dad's going again, but we'll have to pit again. Got over 10 minutes of this race to go yet. But Dad's going again, making up a couple of positions there as myself and Kamaru are still in the pits taking on fuel. See where Wilco comes through, as he did pit a lap earlier. So he's up to 9th place now, closely followed by Cafe Del Mar in 10th. Ben rejoining the race in 11th now, fresh rubber. Kenny just crossing the line there in 12th place. Not too far behind Ben, but he's got a lot to do. Just over 10 minutes of this race left to go. So we just join Kamaru here as he's just coming up behind Daz, who's coming to the end of his stint now. Tyres are still in pretty good condition, so won't be that much slower than the guys around him at this stage. Kamaru opting for these racing softs as well for this stint. Got myself behind on the super softs. Getting really good tyre wear out of this Group 3 VW, having moved from the Jag of last season, which was a bit of a boat. So Wilco in 9th, Cafe in 10th still. Ben has really closed that gap up to Cafe Del Mar by the looks of it, fighting for that last top 10 spot. Cafe Del Mar doing enough at the moment to stay ahead, retain 10th. Anything happens with these two guys, Canny's not that far down the road and will capitalise. Got Kamaru a lot closer to Daz on this lap. Daz just getting a little bit out of shape there through T1. Kamaru nearly getting caught out there as well. That would have slowed Kamaru up a little bit. It's 1:59.1, so yeah, second and a half quicker on the last. That was Daz running wide again, just getting caught out by dirty tyres, I think. Yeah, Daz just getting a little bit out of shape. Just going to allow myself to close the gap on him pretty quickly as I start setting my personal best of the race on my last stint. And that's Daz running wide again and kicking up a bit of dirt in the foreground there. Really catching Daz now as he had a poor exit. I think he's just yielding to the right hand side there just before this S section, thankfully, so I'm able to take it at full speed. See him try and chase down Kamaru up ahead. Senna just coming up to the end of lap 26 now. He's going to dive into the pits for his final pit stop of the race. I think he's done a pretty good job on lap times, so he just got himself in clean air. Took himself out of sync a little bit with everyone else's strategy. Got himself in clean air, put some good lap times in, and I think he's done enough to gain a good enough gap over Kamaru. As yeah, Kamaru's still got 2 corners left to go, so Senna doing enough to establish 5th place, I think, as he rejoins the race on lap 27 with the length of the final straight to his advantage. Anyway, Kamaru there crossing the line, 1 minute 58.1, 1 minute 58.5. So my personal best of the race. Not enough to catch Kamaru at this stage. He's got Wilco in 8th. Daz jumping into the pits now for his final pit stop. Cafe Del Mar pitting as well, so I know he picked up damage somewhere. That's obviously freed, giving Wilco a lot of breathing room now, because Cafe Del Mar was right on his case. Ben in 9th now. Daz rejoining in 10th, last top 10 spot. Fresh tyres and ready to attack Ben for the remainder of this race now. And Cafe rejoining in 11th. Canny just not close enough at the moment to Cafe. He'll have a hard job catching him now as Cafe's out on the super softs with less than just over 5 minutes to go. So yeah, just under a minute left now. We'll have a quick run through the grid again. Dawson in 1st place. Stellar drive from Dawson today again. Done more than enough to fight off the Charger, plucked the duck behind in the full GT. I think he's extracted as much as he can out of that car today. Did gain track position at 1 point, so took the fight to Dawson as much as he could today, but just couldn't match the pace, out and out pace. Hit the Mac in 3rd again, not quite enough to trouble the top 2 today, but good consistent drive nevertheless, picking up the last podium spot. He's had a very consistent driver in Gadget behind in 4th, who's yeah, just kept the pace up all day. Again, extracted the most out of that Peugeot, I think, but not enough to trouble the top 3. Senna in 5th, found himself in battles for most of the race. Switched up his strategy a little bit, came in early, found some clean air, and extended the gap to Kamaru in 6th place, who finds himself under a little bit of pressure now from myself in 7th, as that Kamaru running a little bit wide there through the left hand, I think it is, yeah. Just as this race has gone on, myself on the super soft managed to close the gap up to Kamaru by a couple of seconds on the last lap. Just kept the pressure on, managed to grab 6th place right at the end. Kamaru in 7th place, unlucky mate. Must be kicking himself. Daz in 8th, looks like he's got ahead of Wilco right at the end of the race as well, so Daz moving himself up to 8th right at the last portion of the race. Wilco down to 9th now. Can he fight back? I think he can. He's coming through the last few corners, so it looks like Senna up ahead, 5th place, first official finisher. Myself in 6th, right at the end. Kamaru in 7th. Dad's doing enough, just enough to stay ahead of Wilco. There's Wilco coming sideways through the final corner. Dad's in 8th, Wilco in 9th, Ben crossing the line in the final top 10 spot there. Cafe Del Mar quite a bit further behind there with engine damage and front end damage, and just doing enough to stay ahead of Canny at the end of the race there. So yeah, Cafe Del Mar 11th, Canny in 12th. I'll follow our leader to the end of the race now, just to get the official checkered flag. It's coming through the final 2 corners now. Yeah, congratulations again, Dawson. Pretty faultless race, and takes another win to really stamp his authority in the drivers' room. Again, 2nd place, Pluck's not that far behind in the end, so he did keep him honest and took the fight to him as much as he could. But yeah, good 2nd place there from Pluck's. And hit the Mac in 3rd place. Just coming through the final 2 corners now to take the final podium spot. So a good drive from Mac in 3rd, and Gadget in 4th. And that was Drivers' Room Endurance Championship round 5 Tier 1, and we'll see you next week.